Right. Let's just double check we're all good. Right. I think... Yes, we are. We are indeed live. Right. How is everyone doing? We are back. We are back streaming on YouTube. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. But we are back. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you guys are good. Hopefully it's a better year for Spurs in 2025 than 2024 was. But, we've all got New Year's aspirations. And that is at the top of my list. Let me tell you that now. Welcome back. I haven't uploaded since Christmas Eve, actually. I kind of put out like a little bit of a sort of thank you video for the year. And honestly, yeah, thank you guys so much for the support over the course of the last year or so. Honestly, I'd say year on here, it's been less than that, really. It's been like 6 months on YouTube, which has kind of blown my mind in terms of the support. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And the streams are back. We did this in the summer, and we're going to do it in January as well. We're going to stream basically pretty much every day, I would say. Probably not on weekends, just because obviously we're going to be playing. And I'll be having videos out. There'll be a video tomorrow previewing the Newcastle game. That'll be out tomorrow lunchtime, hopefully. And also there's going to be a video on the channel on Monday or maybe over the weekend about kind of my three signings that I would pick to kind of help save Tottenham's season. So that's the little thumbnail there. I'm not saying that those are the three players, by the way. You guys know how to play the game. You guys know how YouTube works, right? But there could be three players in there that definitely will get talked about in the video 100%, and a couple of players that are going to get talked about in this video or in this stream, sorry. So make sure to like. If you are new, please do subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll kind of get cracking with everything. Obviously, we all know. Well, let's start with Destiny Udogie then, because. Well, also, hello, everyone. Let's say hello to the people in the chat. Valdemir, how you doing? Deja Who, how you doing? Archie Parker, how you doing, mate? Adil, Mohammed, Patman Star Lover 1207. Why do I recognise that name from TikTok? The Goat Football TikTok, appreciate that. Also, sorry to keep sort of saying thank you for everything. Thank you guys so much for 50k on TikTok as well. Absolutely huge. And also 20-odd-k on the second account as well. Nearly at 8k on YouTube. Probably could get there this stream. 10k coming soon. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Let's talk about Destiny Udogie. That's the best place to start, because I think this is something that's obviously massively affected. Well, to be honest, it shouldn't affect what we need to do in January. We need to sign a left back anyway. Some sort of left-hand side defensive cover. And in my opinion, we need a left back and a centre-half on that left-hand side. Van der Ven out injured at the moment. Udogie out for 6 to 10 weeks, which is just a bit of a nightmare situation, really. I spoke about this in a TikTok video earlier on today. Like, who do you blame? Who is to blame for this, right? I don't know. Who is to blame? Who is mostly at fault? I think we're always kind of looking for someone to blame, something to kind of point our finger at and say, this is why this is happening. I think with Spurs, it's a variety of things. Obviously, very small squad, not a big enough squad at all to kind of compete on the fronts that we want to. And that harks back to a poor summer window in terms of the numbers through the door, right? That wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough at all, and we needed to do more. We needed to do desperately more. And especially in those defensive areas, when you think about Van der Ven and Udogie, especially with Udogie having surgery, right? Obviously last year, towards the back end of last season, surgery on his quad, I think it was. This injury apparently doesn't require surgery, which is good, but he's going to be out for about 8 weeks. Or it's between 6 to 10. They reckon potentially 8, so that's 2 months. So he's going to be back at the start of March. Yeah, with Destiny Udogie having no real fullback competition coming into this season off the back of a quad injury, quad surgery, it's just madness. And no real pre-season either. It's just absolutely crazy that we didn't do it. Look, I said multiple times that I was kind of happy with the players that we brought in the summer, and obviously the deadwood that we kind of shipped out and let go. I was very happy with that, but I said all along, probably could have done with another midfielder and definitely could have done with defensive reinforcements because this was kind of just an accident waiting to happen. Archie says, you say not a big enough squad, but Spencer's been on the bench and not selected for Europe. He's only recently been shown a run of games. I agree. Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think Spence should have been given a chance earlier. I think we could probably all agree with that. But again, Spence kind of came into the season as Porro's competition, not even necessarily a doggy. We didn't have really anyone on that left-hand side when you think about it. Josh Hayden says, this is my biggest right van so far. Should have rotated with Spence earlier. Destiny came in with no rest right after surgery. So annoying. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And also, like I said, with the transfer market, we didn't sign a left-sided defender to back up Van der Ven or back up a doggy. We also, I think it's one of those things where, like, we look at Arsenal signing Calafiori and you think, oh, in an ideal world, you go and sign someone of a similar profile who's kind of a bit more of a hybrid left-back, left-sided centre-back. But profiles like that don't exist that much. They are quite rare. Calafiori is almost a bit of a unicorn in that sense. And look, maybe we could have signed him in the summer, but I doubt Spurs were going to spend that money on someone who wasn't necessarily a guaranteed starter. So that was kind of out the window. But other than like Hincapié, they don't exist too much. But that, and also like, I think just for squad building anyway, I think it's versatility is such a great thing. But also, especially in defence, I think you just need you need as many bodies as possible. So you need to go and sign. For me, Spurs need to go and sign a centre back and a left back, right? That's exactly what they need to do. Ruben Rodriguez said, "What was that tweet about a doggy's injury being misfortunate?" So Destiny Doggy's understood to believe that his injury is down to pure misfortune as opposed to it being down to Postecoglou's methods. Now, obviously, like I said, I made a TikTok earlier on talking about what was I going to say? Talking about who is kind of to blame for this injury crisis, right? Who is to blame for Spurs' injury crisis? And I don't think you can put it necessarily down to one person, but obviously there's been a lot of blame kind of attached at Postecoglou's door, saying it's down to him. And I think there's an element of that. Someone's just said there, we're just frying hamstrings of players under Ange, which, you know, there is an element of that, which is true. But it's also down to the lack of squad depth and also the medical team. I don't know how this keeps happening with Tottenham. I mean, this is probably the worst we've had it, and I think this is definitely the worst that Ange has had it. Obviously, injuries have kind of followed Ange around with the intensity that he plays at, but yeah. Now, who does Spurs go and kind of sign to replace him? Well, we know that obviously Patrick Doru was on Tottenham's radar in the summer. This was from Fabrizio Romano back in September. So I understand Spurs had Lecce fullback Patrick Doru on their shortlist into summer. Chelsea also considered him. He's having a good season over in Italy. And there are rumours that Spurs' interest is there again. Lecce want more than 15 million euros. They're requesting in the summer to sell and are demanding his loan back until the end of the season to sanction his sale too. Now, this is a difficult one. Do you sign him? Do you sign him and then go and sign someone else on loan, knowing that you're going to get Doru in the summer, who is probably what you wanted? A lot of people saying about Hanko at Feyenoord. Yeah, he can play full-back as well and left-sided centre-back. Kusenov at Lecce, I've only known him to play centre-back, but there's going to be more on him. We'll chat about him in a sec. Doru is an interesting one. Like, with this coming out about they want him loaned back, do Spurs do that? I'm not sure. But do you go and be ambitious and get him, loan him back, and then go and get someone else on loan as maybe a stopgap kind of signing, or try and find a centre-back that can play at left-back to kind of cover it, or just use Jed Spence there? Boscagli is not a bad shout as well. I think for good or bad, it's going to be Boscagli as left-sided centre-back or left-back cover, yeah. That's not a bad shout. Not what's everybody else saying in the chat? I heard we're only getting 30 million for January. Is that true? I'm not 100% sure on how much money Spurs are going to spend, but I think we know what areas they're going to identify. Paul O'Keefe coming out and saying that Spurs are looking at the goalkeeper, centre-back, centre-forward and winger positions in the window. Versatility considered an advantage as well as experience in high-intensity higher tempo side. Look, I think that versatility is more beneficial further up the pitch. Obviously, we were talking about the defence just now. But in terms of the forward positions, I think that makes more sense. But I'm thinking defence, I think obviously this was before the Udogie news. Obviously Udogie got injured before this tweet, but obviously we didn't know how serious it was necessarily going to be. So maybe if they can find someone that's going to play both positions and then try and get a Doru in the summer. Someone said Bradley Locko as well. Bradley Locko obviously got a big injury this summer, didn't he? Or this season. Hincapié, yeah. Hincapié's been a shout for a while. I saw Euro Expert kind of did a thread on him. I've not watched too much of him this season. Sort of saying that he's been a little bit underwhelmed with him this year. Travis, how you doing, mate? Would love Doru, yeah. Lots of shouts for Doru. Boscagli has 6 months left on his contract. Not convinced he's the perfect player, but he's the most gettable in January. I'd put money on it being him. Technically good enough, but pace would be an issue, I think. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Boscagli. Or Boshali, or how you want to pronounce it. So that's one for me to kind of get a bit more involved on. Jonathan David on a free is a no-brainer, even if you would only come in the summer. Well, obviously, this came out the other day about Richarlison. Richarlison, who had been linked with the move back to Brazil, has no desire to leave Tottenham in January. I just made a TikTok talking about one player each Big Six club should sell. And I think if someone comes in, I think Spurs should try and force this if they can, but I don't think Richarlison is going to want to leave. And I also think that Spurs need to sign a striker in January. I think that, or certainly a forward that can kind of play maybe out wide and play out front. Someone like a Matthias Tell, I think, would be a decent option as a youngster. Not getting too much game time at Bayern. But I think Spurs, you just cannot rely on Richie to be that backup to Solanke. And if Solanke gets injured, which I'm worried that we are one game away from a Solanke injury. And I think that would really, really, if our season's kind of not derailed at the moment anyway, that would really just be a nightmare situation, wouldn't it? Him or Kulusevski. So, yeah. The striker one will be very interesting. Jonathan David is obviously a name that's kind of been linked with Spurs for ages. Absolutely ages. But like you said, obviously, it would be more likely to be on a free in the summer, unless Spurs wanted to pay a bit of money now. Obviously, with 6 months left on his deal, the player is probably going to want to sit tight because then obviously he gets a massive signing-on bonus wherever he goes in the summer. I don't see that one necessarily happening, but I think Spurs need to be looking at strikers. They do need to be looking at strikers. Who that is, I don't know. We've not really seen too many names other than someone like a Jonathan David. I've seen Evan Ferguson been linked to a lot of other teams. Maybe that's something that you do on loan potentially. But and then again, is he going to get the game time that he would want to come on Spurs to go on loan? Mr. there says Rashford. I don't see anybody taking a gamble on Rashford. I really don't see anybody taking a gamble on Rashford in January. Malik Tillman. A lot of chat about him. Victor Roque is actually, Archie Parker, good point. Victor Roque is one of the names that's kind of been linked to striker, obviously at Betis, on loan from Barcelona, I believe. He is someone that Spurs are apparently looking at, have been scouting alongside, obviously, Johnny Cardozo, who is a Spurs, well, we don't really know if he's a Spurs player or not. Obviously, we know that he can't come in January. Harry Tateson Stokes there. Matthias Tell, 6-month loan with an option to buy. Yeah, Matthias Tell, I said it earlier, I don't think that's a bad option. I really don't. He'll be looking for a move. Do you need someone maybe a bit more experienced as that loan backup? I'm not sure. Are we going to bring Cardozo in January? Pat Matsada said, yeah, I don't think so. But let's move on from the striker positions. One thing actually, going back to Destiny Udogie that I forgot about, and Billy T made a very good point on Twitter last night. Who's going to play at left back in our remaining 2 Europa League games? I kind of forgot that we've got them this side of, or in January. We've obviously got Hoffenheim and Elfsborg. And obviously, Jed Spence is not registered to play in Europe. Sergio Reguilon is not registered to play in Europe. So what are we going to do? Hopefully Ben Davies is back by those points. Maybe you can move Gray to left back or play Davis at left back and Gray at centre half. Maybe you get one Romero or Van der Ven back by that point. We still don't really know what's happening with those two. Kolo Muani, actually, is another player that Spurs have been linked with as a striker option. I wouldn't mind that on loan. That's a good shout. I forgot we were linked with him. There has been. He's been linked to a lot of different sides, to be fair. And AC Milan is one. It came out on Boxing Day, didn't it? Plenty goal. Tottenham were interested in signing Randall Colomwani. The striker was expected to leave PSG in January for the Prem. PSG have already held concrete talks with potential teams about a loan deal and want an obligation included. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Colomwani, to be honest. He was someone I remember we were linked with Colomwani as a Kane replacement in the summer that he left when he was at Frankfurt, and then he obviously went. Was it Frankfurt that he was at, and then he went to PSG. Harry Tateson Stokes says, I think you can alter registration for the Europa League before those two games, even though they're still in the league phase. That is what happened on FM. Take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, we shall see. But yeah, let's move on to some other bits. Girona are apparently seriously considering triggering the purchase option for Brian Hill. That'd be a nice little bit of cash injection in Jan. Tottenham Hotspur want to sign a new goalkeeper this month, according to the Mirror. Obviously, Paul O'Keefe said we are looking at a goalkeeper. I think it's going to be one of those things where if an opportunity comes up, it does. I think it's going to be very hard to get James Trafford out of Burnley in January, especially only for 20 million, because obviously he's their first choice. He's doing well. I think you'd have to pay more than that to get him in Jan. Sorry. Anthony Patterson is the Sunderland goalkeeper as well, I believe. Alex Romero, I don't know too much about, but James Trafford, I think I'd really like as a goalkeeper. I do like him. I think he'd be really good competition for Vicario as well, which is ultimately, I think, what we want when we sign this back up. He's, got experience in the Premier League, in a ball-playing, possession-based team in Burnley, obviously last season under Company. So I think James Trafford would make a lot of sense. I just don't know if Spurs are going to be able to get him for just 20 mil in Jan. But you guys let me know what you think. Would you? I think it's a really difficult one with the goalkeeper position, because I think obviously we were so worried when, obviously I made a video about it at the time. We were so worried when Vicario was first out, and we were really worried about Forster in this side, especially playing out from the back with his feet. But he did well in the first few games. He did really well, and then I think since the Man United game, I think people have kind of just been like, no, this is something we need to look at, really need to look at. And that might kind of accelerated that movement forward. Obviously, Vicario, we don't exactly know when he's going to be back. It's probably going to be next month or maybe in March. So James, I would not. I'd really like James Trafford, but I just don't know if Spurs can get that one done in Jan. So we shall see. This is, one of the fun ones. Jack Grealish. Now, Grealish is a really interesting one. I'm not going to go into it too much because I've got a transfer video coming out on Monday. I don't expect to necessarily see any movement before then. So I think it's a good time to kind of wait and really assess the options, and I'm going to kind of give you my opinion on maybe players that we should or shouldn't go for. But Jack Grealish, I think it'd be a difficult one to do in terms of wages. But it might be that, excuse me, I've got hiccups, that kind of like vibes signing that we maybe need just to kind of get that feeling back a little bit. I don't know how you guys feel about Grealish. Floormat says no, not Grealish. I wouldn't mind it. I'm not going to go into too much detail because he's one player I am going to talk about in my video. We've already spoken about Doru. Elia Veliz, Espanyol considering cutting Elia Veliz's loan deal with the club short. Now, we just can't seem to get it right with Veliz's loans, can we? He had a decent period, I feel like, this season, but now obviously he's struggling. They're considering cutting the deal short. So, I don't know. Obviously, if we can find somewhere else for him, I don't see him coming back as a rotation option. Maybe he will. I doubt that. Another goalkeeper suggested was Sam Johnstone. Obviously, we were linked with Sam Johnstone before. I think Sam Johnstone was going to be... Actually, Sam Johnstone, I'm pretty sure, was the goalkeeper that was going to come in instead of Fraser Forster. Ruben Rodriguez says, hey, it should not be signing a player that doesn't really fit the system just for vibes. I actually think Grealish could fit the way that we play. I do think that. When I say vibes, I don't mean just signing for that, but I just think that he's also got quality. I know he hasn't scored a goal for, a year now? Or over a year. Surely Grealish isn't an out-of-position fit for us. I'm not sure. I think he works hard. On the ball, he keeps it really well. Good ball retention. I think he could cover the wing. I think he could cover one of those two number 10 positions as well. I think he could mean that we actually get adequate rest for Kulusevski as well, being able to bring him off in games. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much on Grealish. I think we could go to. I think he could go Leicester, link up with Buonanotte. Who? Veliz. Not a bad shout. Buonanotte is a player that there were vague links to, actually, from a Spurs perspective over the last few days. But yeah, Sam Johnstone was the goalkeeper I'm pretty sure we were looking at before Forster came in. This is an interesting one for Fikayo Tomori. To me, this feels a little bit like lazy journalism. I will say that. Tottenham have internally discussed possibly signing AC Milan defender Fikayo Tomori during this transfer window. Obviously, there's been links with him going back to Chelsea. I wouldn't mind Tomori. Again, he's not had a great few years. But I don't mind him. I really don't mind him. I think he's decent on the ball. Good physical profile. I wouldn't mind it. But again, we're going to kind of go into these options a little bit more in detail. Obviously, Kusenov is a player that we've been linked with heavily for about a month or so now. Newcastle apparently interested in him as well. From what I know, from what I've seen, he's got very good recovery pace, strong in the duel, kind of a bit of a hybrid of Romero and Van de Ven. I think he's obviously not as good as Romero on the ball, but he's definitely got that recovery pace, strong, physical. Again, we're going to go into kind of some of these players more in detail in the YouTube video early next week. But Kusenov, some stats to show you here as well. Successful defensive actions first, progressive passes first, through passes first. So he obviously has got that on-the-ball ability. And we know he's got that recovery pace as well. They only signed him for about €100,000 last season, and now he's a first-team regular. He had a very good performance, I think, against PSG at the weekend, or last week maybe. And this is an interesting thing to kind of end on, I suppose. Heung-Min, Son and Ben Davies have officially entered the last 6 months of their Spurs contracts. They are now allowed to discuss terms with foreign clubs over a contract that would start from next season. Now, I think the Son option will be triggered. I think the Ben Davies option will be triggered as well. I don't think it's the right time to move them on in January. Obviously, I don't think that would happen anyway. I think they would be... They would kind of maybe sign a pre-contract agreement with another club. I think Sonny is obviously coming in for a lot of criticism at the moment because of the performances. To me, I think with Son, it's about managing his fitness, and I think signing another winger is absolutely precedent for Spurs to be able to do that. Obviously, we've got Yang coming in, Mikey Moore hopefully coming back, Wilson Odobert hopefully coming back soon as well. So Spurs should be able to do that a little bit better once those players are back. And I think we should allow Son to kind of sign that extension. Obviously, I think Ben Davies probably as well, but Sonny, I think when you rest him, when you manage him properly, I think you can still get, not the best out of him, but I think you can get in short, sharp bursts a really effective player. But I still think the Spurs need to go big in the summer on a winger. So we shall see on that. But you guys let me know what you think. Let's just read some of the chats quickly before I drop off. I'll be back, hopefully, probably live again tomorrow. Maybe in the afternoon. There'll be a video out in the morning as well. Yang officially a Spurs player now. Excited to see him, says Joshua. Despite not being injured, Son is a big victim of the injury crisis for sure. Harry, 100%. Obviously in the minutes he's having to pick up from other players. How much do you think we'd pay for Grealish? I think if it did happen, I think it'd be more of a loan situation. Mr. Ridgecut says, I know 6 isn't a pressing matter, but feel there is a massive possibility to go for Douglas Luiz. Only started 2 games for Juve. That's been a weird transfer, hasn't it? We do like doing business with them. That wouldn't be a bad option. That would not be a bad option, to be honest. That might be one to keep an eye on, but we shall see. Travis will be writing something on Kusenov in the next few weeks. Looking forward to it. It looks very promising. Nice. Looking forward to reading it, mate. Why can't we get Vuskovic in the squad? He can't come until he's 18, I believe. Do you think it's possible to get Kusenov in Jan? I do think that is possible. Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané was a name I think Kish from Lily White Lab was talking about. I think he said it on the podcast with Flav on the lab, actually. Yeah, I mean, I'd love Sané. I absolutely love Sané. The reality is we'll probably get Ben Godfrey on loan, says Terry. I doubt that, to be honest, with Ben Godfrey, but obviously there were links there. And that's your lot. Any truths in getting Brantford on a swap with Richie? No way. Surely not. Yeah, and that's that. Seeing links to Brantford, is that a couple of people have commented that now? Is that happening? Is there anything in that? No, I don't think there is anything in that. Surely. I mean, we've had interest in him for a while, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd see that one as happening. But yeah, great to be back on with you guys. Enjoyed that. I will be back tomorrow. There'll be a video tomorrow as well, previewing the Newcastle game. That should hopefully be about around lunchtime. Enjoy the darts tonight if anybody's watching it. I'll be watching it. And yeah, we're back tomorrow. Back streaming probably tomorrow afternoon as well. So yeah, certainly if there's any more updates in terms of the transfer side of things. Good to be back. Felt a little bit rusty in this one, to be honest. Kind of just getting back used to it again, but we will get there, and it's good to be back. Happy New Year, everyone! Thanks so much for the support over the last 6 months. Travis says, by the way, just looked into Europa League registration. I believe we can register a maximum of 3 new players before the start of the knockout phase, but after the completion of the league phase. So yeah, we can't do it for these 2 games. Interesting. All good stuff. Right. Nice one, guys. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and up the Spurs. See you tomorrow.